Traders, how are you? Marcello here, founder of the Day Trading Academy, co-founder of Speed Up Trader, where you guys can come and apply to use our money for just $120 with accounts starting at $25,000. You guys got to help me to shorten that intro. Today we're doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week. So overall this week, Tuesday and Friday, we have all-time highs in the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. On Tuesday morning as well, we have 3 Dow stocks that are on the exchange, the Dow, that reached all-time highs: Disney, McDonald's, and Microsoft. Out of the 500 firms in the S&P 500 index, 140 of them went up 20% or more in 2019. And for the week, the U.S. indices, the Dow went down 0.06%, the S&P 500 went up 1.20%, and the NASDAQ went up 1.85%. Brazilian markets rose on Tuesday as there seems to be a path cleared to pension reform. That's something big that the current president Bolsonaro kind of banked his campaign on. So it looks like they might get the political backing to be able to go ahead and do that on the economic reform agenda. German shares hit their highest in 6.5 months on Wednesday, outperforming a lot of the European peers with a surge of a software company called SAP. I'm sure you guys have heard of it, capital SAP. They've had their best days since August 2015. Overall for the week, Asia markets worried about China pulling back on stimulus measures. European markets are higher this week. The biggest winner is the Swiss index at 1.60%. Istanbul is negative 2.22%. In Latin American and Asian markets, the biggest winner was the Bovespa in Brazil at 1.75. The biggest loser was the Merval in Argentina at 6.79% negative. Something really not serious, obviously, for us in the U.S. is happening in Argentina. Their currency is devaluating, and I know a lot of us can see the crisis that's happening right now in Venezuela, or even, for example, North Korea doesn't really apply. I think Venezuela is the best example. We often don't think that these kind of situations can happen in our own countries, whether it's Canada or Australia or, I give you in India. So you should always have the opportunity to have income or diversify away from the currency or even the country that you're in. It's a good example, for example, what's happening in Argentina right now, where literally every week, every month, every few months, the currency just completely devaluates by 3, 5, 7, 10%. And if you guys are able to earn money in a different currency that's stable, right now the US dollar, it's not going to last much longer. I give you about 10 years. Something to think about, and I recommend you guys go and look at what's happening in Argentina so you guys can really understand what's happening there. And nobody thought, for example, that the end of the Roman Empire was going to happen. Nobody thought, for example, that the Empire of England was going to stop, right? Nobody thinks that the U.S. either. So give that food for thought. In African and Middle Eastern markets, Nigeria went down 1.17%, the biggest loser in the region. And the Asian markets are mixed. The biggest winner is Australia, 1.94%. Obviously, that's not Asia, but it's in the Far East. And SEC in China went down 5.99%. Bitcoin for the week, losses of 2.9%. 2.90%, went down to 5,109.83 cents. Don't worry, guys. It's going to get to 50,000 this year. Don't worry. Financial news, the U.S., and this is why I brought it up, the situation about Argentina. U.S. Social Security Trust Fund for retirees is going to run out of money in 2035. It's already drawing money from the general fund as loans from the government need to be repaid. And Part A Medicare is going to run out by 2026. I don't know what you guys think, but these countries can't continue to just borrow and borrow and borrow money. So food for thought. The German banking giants Deutsche Bank and Commerzbank end talks to merge after 6 weeks. They're saying that execution risks, capital costs, all kinds of things stop that merger from going through. Following the biggest quarterly credit injection in Chinese history, Chinese banks are now flush with yuan loans. A lot of dollar-denominated assets are running low, though, right? So before the crisis in 2000, well, let me say it this way. China's fourth largest banks now now have a lot more dollar denominated liabilities than they do assets, right? Before the crisis in 2008, a lot of these banks, the financial system is basically the way the world is run, and even the government of China had a lot more assets than liabilities. Well, now it's actually flipped, and a lot of them actually have more dollar liabilities than assets, which essentially means that they now need to fund operations not only domestically but abroad. Because remember, China has trying to been like a, it's been a closed off state for quite a bit. Well, now they have to go overseas in order to go ahead and fund their operations. In commodities, Monday, crude oil rose near 3%, highest level in 6 months, as the U.S. government said that it's going to eliminate the sanction waiver starting May 2nd. It allowed 8 countries from importing Iranian oil after Trump removed the Iranian deal. Oil prices fell 3% on Friday after Trump pressured OPEC to bring down gasoline prices by increasing the crude production. Overall, for the week, U.S. crude went down 1.78%, went to 62.88. International Brent went down 0.49% to 71.62. They've also figured out in the commodity space that there's billions of dollars worth in gold that are being smuggled out of Africa from United Arab Emirates. If you guys don't know where UAE is, it's the country that hosts Dubai. That's basically the gateway to Europe, to United States and Asia. Precious metals for the week, gold went up 0.78%, silver went up 0.73%. I'm going to actually record a video right now that we're going to go ahead and make live. I recorded it on the Spanish side. I forgot to do it on the English side. As you guys can see, I get twisted with my words sometimes because I always think in Spanish now, being down here in Latin America. But I'm going to show you guys a position that I took based on the analysis in silver. It's basically how I'm trading right now, just to give you guys some insight if you guys want to watch that on YouTube. Hard to put that on the podcast, which is available, Spotify, everything, if you guys want to listen to it, since I have to show you charts and everything. But just go to YouTube, you guys will be able to see it, or even Instagram. You guys can find me on Wandering Trader, WAND. Political news, Ukraine enters a new political era after a comedian with no experience and basically no real detailed policies won the election by a landslide. Definitely kind of a to the status quo. Nearly 90% of Egyptian voters voted in a referendum to redo the constitution to allow, essentially it's going to allow the current president Al-Sisi to stay in power until 2030. In the economy, despite having the trade wars, despite having the global growth slowdown, despite having the U.S. government shut down, U.S. economy still expanded at a 3.2% annualized pace in quarter one 2019, said the government, well above forecasts that were at 2.3%. In corporate news, Amazon tops quarter one sales estimates with surges in online shopping, soaring demand for their cloud and advertising business. Their net sales rose 17% to $59.70 billion, beating analyst estimates. Chinese tech giant Huawei is reporting sales jumped 39% to $26.8 billion in quarter one. Their net profit also increased slightly to almost 8%. Huawei, which is the company in China that the U.S. essentially is trying to convince everybody not to buy from for the 5G, the new 5G technology, they sell more telecommunications equipment than anybody else in the world. Their smartphone business is actually growing faster than Samsung and Apple as well. So even though the U.S. efforts are even though U.S. is trying to stop people from buying their products, they're saying that they signed up 40 commercial contracts for 5G this year alone. Not this year, I believe it's over the last year. Don't quote me on that. Tesla reported a major drop in sales in quarter one for 2019, about 63,000 vehicles delivered, which is a 31% drop compared to quarter four in 2018. It hasn't yet changed its guidance for 2019. If you guys haven't noticed, what Tesla does is they always say that this is the expectation and then they deliver down here. Just FYI if you guys haven't noticed yet. They reported a $702 million loss for quarter one after paying a $920 million convertible bond, and they end the quarter with $2.2 billion in cash. They said that in quarter two, they're also going to lose money, and that revenue was down 37% versus the prior quarter. Tesla also having issues because there seems to be a lot of problems with cars just kind of blowing up. There's another situation this week where supposedly a Tesla car in a parking lot just literally caught on fire after we saw smoke coming out of the car. So they're dealing with that after a lot of people are questioning Tesla in regards to that. Facebook stocks, I should say, spikes near 5% to 191.25, reporting quarter one profit of $2.43 billion. They reported an increase of active users of 2.38 billion, up 8% from last year. And they took a $3 billion charge in quarter one after the FTC levied a fine for obviously the situation with privacy. Canada's privacy commissioner also said that it's going to take Facebook to court because they allowed personal information to be used for political purposes as well. So they're having a tough time with that political fiasco. In trade news, U.S. and China should resume trades this week to try to end the trade war that has lasted over a year, hurting global growth. Peru is going to sign a memorandum to join the China's Belt and Road Infrastructure Initiative, the China ambassador said on Wednesday, despite the warnings from the U.S. that China's impending rise in Latin America. In technology, JP Morgan Chase is going to widen the use of blockchain technology. They want to try to use the technology to improve and smooth banking industry's payment system. They're also inviting financial technology to experiment and help with the new platform. So as you guys can see, that people, in my opinion, people get confused this quite a bit. There's Bitcoin and cryptos that use blockchain. The future, in my opinion, is not Bitcoin and cryptos. You should have bought a while ago, right? Obviously you can trade and stuff as long as you don't lose your money, as it magically disappears when an exchange goes bankrupt or people hack you, whatever. But for me, the future is blockchain. This technology is going to revolutionize the industry. It's like the internet. It's going to change everything. So keep that in mind, because even you can see that Chase, they're not saying, oh, we're going to use Bitcoin for payments. No, they want to use blockchain for payments. And investment news, let me take a look. Procure Space ETF, $UFO, finishes its first week of full trading. It gives investors a way to invest in the growing space economy. It's dominated by a lot of young private firms that are focusing on pure play space firms, where near 80% of the constituents are deriving the majority of the revenue from the space business. So if you guys are interested in that, you guys can look that up. Luckin Coffee, which is the Chinese challenger to Starbucks, on Monday filed for an IPO. It's valued at nearly $3 billion in its latest round of funding. Samsung is going to delay its foldable smartphone when a lot of problems came out, and the screens were breaking and a lot of other situations were breaking as well. Not situations, but things on the device. So they're going to delay the launch of that. It's a major setback. They're actually the world's biggest handset maker. Tesla CEO says that he expects robo-taxis on the road by 2020. Full self-driving cars to compete with Uber and Lyft. And it's also, he said that it's a way for Tesla owners to make extra money while they aren't using their vehicles. If you can believe that it's going to be 2020, remember if I said, they always say up here and then like, oh. In northern Argentina, they're launching the largest solar farm, a power plant from solar energy, the largest in South America, funding primarily by China. 80% from Chinese suppliers, and their 85% came from a bank in China, near $400 million cost, financed at 3% over the next 15 years. Who's going to lend me money at 3% for 15 years? Walmart planned to sell its supermarket brand Asda to Sainsbury for $9.4 billion, was denied by UK regulators. 20 years ago, governments and utilities globally began offering above market rates and contracts to fuel the rise of clean energy, helping wind and solar. Now, a lot of them want to renegotiate their contracts because they're still paying above market price for these kind of electricity. Uber is also in IPO, targeting a valuation of $90 billion. It will be the largest for any tech company in the world. The Renault company, which is French, Nissan, which is Japanese, are saying that they want to merge and create a new let's call it a holding company, right? And so what they want to do, or they're saying that they want to do, is that the people who own the stocks of Renault and Renault and Nissan are going to get about 50% in the new company. So that should be interesting to see how that works out. The terrorist attacks in Sri Lanka, my heart goes out to everybody there. The country evoked the emergency powers after the bomb attack that killed nearly 359 people were killed and nearly 500 wounded. I think they did catch the guys and kill them, and I think ISIS was the people that took responsibility for the actual attacks. Japanese Emperor Akihito, 85 years old, will abdicate the throne on April 30th, the first Japanese monarch to do so in 2 centuries. He's going to be succeeded by Crown Prince Naruhito, 59 years old. Venezuelan military personnel are deserting to Colombia and Brazil in ever-growing numbers, refusing to follow the mandated orders by current legitimate or illegitimate President Maduro in Venezuela. U.S. President Trump on Wednesday threatened to close part of the southern border if Mexico does not stop the new caravan from getting to the border of the United States. He also says he's going to send more armed soldiers to defend it. And in unusual facts this week, Masayoshi Son, the son of the billionaire founder of SoftBank Group Corp, bought Bitcoin at its peak, lost $130 million selling it in 2018. You should have listened to the video that Marcello did, my man, when I told you that it was going to go down. So that's the news for this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Hashtag Ask Marcello. I'll do that video for you guys about how I'm trading right now. If you want me to do any other kinds of videos, let me know. I'll be happy to do them. We'll see you next week.